So the iPhone 10, believe it or not, ended up getting a very interesting update. Now, it's not every day that the iPhone 10 anymore gets like some pretty big changes or news or anything like that at all. So anytime these particular devices end up getting some things, it's actually very, very crazy. Now, with the iPhone 10, as most of you know, this was a flagship of flagships that came out back in 2017. And this really was one of the best phones I think that Apple really made at that time. It's still amazing. Now, I probably wouldn't recommend anyone to buy this particular device anymore, but for a long period of time, this was one of my go-to devices to recommend to people. I still think Apple did an amazing job with this particular phone, and I do think in so many different ways, this phone kind of means a lot to a lot of people. I probably would tell you though, for some people out there, it may not make a lot of sense to go and pick up one of these phones, and we'll talk about that throughout this whole entire video. Now, the first things first though, I will say the big update is that we are now getting the iPhone 10. It's now becoming classified as a vintage product. So before, as you probably would have suggested, this was a pretty old iPhone. It's approaching 7 years old this year. But the craziest thing was that this iPhone, for many years, it got iOS updates as most iPhones do. But then this thing just now got classified as a vintage product. So whenever Apple, classifies a product as, vintage, that means that it is basically obsolete and they're not going to go through and repair these things anymore. They're not going to go ahead and, kind of do anything like that. Now, I think you can still send them in and they can repair it, but it's going to cost a lot more money. But for the most part, for their Apple stores and Apple authorized service providers, you can't really go through and get them, repaired there as far as we know. I think there could still be some chances where this device would still get some updates. So I think there's still a chance where the iPhone 10 could end up getting some sort of software update in the future. Maybe it gets an iOS 16 update. I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's still a chance it might end up doing that. So I think that's a really cool thing in and of itself. But what an end of an era. It's so crazy that this particular iPhone lasted for that long. It had that much of an impact. And the fact that this iPhone is still, this was the first iPhone to bring Face ID, the first iPhone to bring, an OLED display. I think the first one to bring the gesture-based design on iPhones, a big change, the first one to bring a notch. This thing brought a lot of stuff to the table. And at that time, it was very, very crazy that we were getting that type of capability. But I will tell you, the iPhone 10, it still is a very relevant phone. And there's still a little bit of an iPhone 10 in every single iPhone that's basically ever made, and probably every single phone that's ever made. I probably would tell you not to buy this device anymore, and I'll still be making videos on it, but wow, this iPhone is now considered vintage, and it's crazy because this was one of the first iPhones I basically waited in line for 7 years ago. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.